New York City public school classrooms teaching general science to 9th graders. While reflecting on the huge gap in resources between the teacher and his students, he decided to dedicate his life to public service in pursuit of social justice. Since then, he has served in many public roles spanning more than 3 decades, including United States Senator, and now he's our governor. Our state is at a perilous crossroads, most perilous for those in poverty, those with chronic mental illness, chemical dependency, physical and developmental disabilities, the frail elderly, and those who lack access to affordable health care. These are our most vulnerable populations. These are the clients of our profession. We are well served by this man of integrity, this man of courage, this man whose only public ambition is to restore government's most noble mission, to make people's lives better. It is truly a great honor to present to you that man, the governor of what must remain the great state of Minnesota, Governor Mark Dayton.
As you are here, and you have a right to be here. And then as you go, if you're going to the various, meet with various legislators and going to various committee hearings or whatever, to be respectful and responsible toward even those with whom you disagree. Because this is the process here that's going to be very different here in Minnesota from what it's been in Wisconsin, because Minnesota is better than Wisconsin. After I taught in New York City, I went to work for a social service agency in Boston. And I worked in a runaway house for kids that had no homes, were thrown away from their settings, and was on the streets of Boston working with kids that were on the streets before they came into our shelter. So I know firsthand the kind of dedication that the work that you do requires of you day after day, and your commitment to social justice and to reaching out to those in need is really something I have great respect for. And you're here to speak today and represent those who you serve who can't be here today, to give voice to the voiceless. To give faces to the faceless. Because you know that beneath the dollars and cents that we tend to talk about here is what are called cuts. And beneath even the numbers of people affected by those cuts are this human being, and that human being, and that human being, and that human being. Our fellow citizens, children of whatever you believe your faith is their creation. Each one of them is precious as us. And it's easy for us, too easy here to overlook what kind of real pain and suffering the consequences of these decisions will inflict on those people. And as you nod your heads, I know you know that. So I ask you to share with those who are making these decisions what you know to be the effects of some of these decisions that they are considering making. How it's going to affect real people's lives. People, we use even words such as vulnerable, to me, sort of doesn't really get to the pain and the suffering that people are feeling in their lives, the real hardship, the struggle just to survive, to cope with daily existence. And you're helping with your dedication and your commitment and your expertise. But you also need resources. I remember learning about one county north of here where because of the cutbacks in funds that have already taken place. If a child who's 4 years old or older is hit with an open hand, they don't intervene. If a child's 3 and younger, they'll intervene, or if a child is hit with a closed fist. Well, what's the effect on a child 4 or 5 or 6 years old who's hit with what you might term an open hand? Just as much pain, suffering, humiliation, anguish. And to think that even now, before this budget, there are agencies and counties that don't have the resources to reach out to that child and ease that suffering. And you can tell those stories 100-fold or 1,000-fold, and that's what we need to hear here. That's why I'm proud of my budget that says we're going to ask the wealthiest people in Minnesota, the